네. 이번 시간에는 이제 영화 쪽에 관련돼서 언리얼 엔진이 어떻게 사용이 되고 있는지, 어떻게 또 확장이 되고 있는지를 좀 알아보려고 하고 있습니다. 자, 일단은 그 영화 제작의 미래라는 그 텍스트인데요. 그 이제 말씀을 드리면 언리얼 엔진은 비주얼 프로덕션의 최전선에서 모든 프로덕션 파이프라인의 변화를 선도하고 있다. 그러니까 파이프라인이라는 의미가 그러니까 시스템적인 그 패턴이에요. 패턴의 부분이 그 언리얼 엔진을 통해서 변화를 가지고 오고 있다라는 거예요. 그 언리얼 엔진이 이제 이 안에 들어와서 어떻게 변화를 가지고 가는지, 영화 쪽 같은 경우는 뭐 우리가 게임 앞에서 봤던 애니메이션이든 게임 영상이든 이런 거의 하나의 그 축이라고 보시면 되고요. 단지 이제 영화라고 하는 부분은 사이즈가 굉장히 크겠죠. 그러니까 우리가 이제 HD 그러면 1920에 1080, 그 다음에 UHD 38 몇이죠? 예, 거기에 준하는 거보다 그러니까 우리가 소위 말하는 4K보다 훨씬 더 큰 두 배, 4K 두 배 정도? 두 개보다 좀 큰가요? 예, 그 정도의 사이즈를 얘기를 하고 있어요. 자, 지금 뭐 파트너는 여러 가지 뭐 쭉 나와 있는데요. 지금 여기서 보시면 이제 파이프라인에 대해서 간단한 말씀을 드리면, 일단은 뭐 시스템적으로 들어오고 아트 디렉터하고 뭐 여러 가지 비주얼 아트 파트, 뭐 VF, 그러니까 특수효과 파트 이런 쪽에 들어오는 거고, 그 다음에 거기에 관련해서 이제 보면은 여기 중간에 뭐 그린 스크린 있고 라이브 액션 뭐 이런 것들이 있죠. 그러니까 그 다음에 이제 LED, 웰, 인, 카메라, VFX 뭐 이런 거 보면은 이제 쉽게 말하면 이제 그 영상을 찍고 그 블루스크린 안에 영상을 찍고 그 다음에 라이브로 진행이 되면서 거기에 이제 LED를 통한 효과들, 그러니까 이펙트 부분이죠. 이펙트 화면 연출 부분이 진행한다라는 것이에요. 예, 그런 것들에 이제 우리가 보통 이제 뭐 좀만 알 수 있으면 좀만 신경 쓰면 알 수 있는 부분들이에요. 우리가 늘상 봐왔던 부분인데 그런 단어들이 우리의 그 표현하고는 좀 일정하지 않기 때문에 말씀을 드리는 거고요. 그 다음에 언리얼 엔진의 최신 인카메라 VF 툴을 뭐 제공하고 있다라고 되어 있고요. 뭐 구독 누르는 건데, 자, 지금 보시면 캡처 시스템에서 리얼타임 퍼포먼스 캡처 스타일이라고 되어 있는데, 백서 다운로드, 이거 프로젝트를 뭐 다운로드 받을 수 있다, 인카메라. 그래서 지금 이제 사운드가 나오고 있고요. 이 부분은 그냥 이미지인가요? 영상에 나올 수 있네요. 한번 볼게요.
From the beginning, the challenge of making a science fiction show was trying to innovate technically. As a filmmaker, there's nothing more fun than trying to find a way to shoot something that's never really been shot before. In Westworld, you're going to a place where you want to feel completely swept away by the reality of the space. So we knew we'd have to do as much production on location as possible, but it also meant that for the environments that didn't exist,
이거는 전에 꽤 유명한 드라마인데요. 저도 봤어요. 되게 재밌게 봤어요. 이게 좀 시간이 된 건데.
Translite or a matte painting has been around since the beginning of filmmaking. And that's okay, but there's a million layers of information that are missing from a green screen shot.
저기 미드 드라마인데 되게 재밌게 봤던 내용이에요.
As an
꽤
alternative to green
장편의
screen, we
미드인데.
wanted to take projection and extend it to a number of different technical challenges. If you can see it on set on the day, it's that much more real, not just for you, but for your actors, for your crew.
뭐 간단한 내용은 그거예요. 간단한 내용은 어떤 특정 영역 안에서의 실험인데, 거기는 그 인조인간들이 계속 나타나고, 그다음에 뇌의 어떤 것도 다 이제 마비시키고 계속 반복해서 죽으면 다른 모습으로 또 그러니까 모습은 똑같은데 다른 삶을 살고 있고 막 계속 뱅뱅뱅 도는 거예요. 그래서
Working with Nathan Crowley, we were able to create the map for the control room, for the pilot. A lot of people would think it's CG, but it's a practical effect of twin 4K projectors firing from the ceiling.
It was a carved piece of styrofoam We figured out a 2D move, but it dimensionalized and looked three-dimensional.
When we came back into series production, I wanted to find ways in which we could expand the dimensions of this impossible facility. The Mesa facility, what we're imagining is a 95-story building hidden inside a mesa in the desert. You can't go shoot there because it doesn't exist. Sure, you could do it with green screen or a matte painting. It just means as a filmmaker that you're very limited with how much you could do with the camera. We wanted to be unlimited in these sets. We wanted free reign to move the cameras where we wanted. So what we began developing was a technology that didn't exist at that point.
We built our own supercomputer. We wanted to put a sensor on the camera, have a projector, a screen, and when I wanted the camera to move, we wanted to have backgrounds render in real time.
We built this artificial environment in Unreal. There were a lot of things that looked really exciting, but there was a lot more of a lag. The lighting wasn't there, the shadows weren't quite there. When we were on a wider lens and moved the camera a lot, the background kind of drifted.
The tools were vanishingly close, but it was not possible at that point.
Then this season, I see the air pump. And right then, I knew that Joan and I were gonna finally figure out a way to use LED walls. I had the privilege of working with Jon Favreau back in 2012. Jon invited us down to The Mandalorian to really see how all these things that he had learned had developed from a technology standpoint.
And it turned out he'd been frustrated shooting blue screen, and he was trying to build exactly the same thing. What I was surprised to realize is it was still using the same pieces. Unreal Engine, camera tracking. So thanks to the generosity of Jon and the innovation on the part of our team, we got to this place where you can create this artificial space and stand in it and light with it.
When we started out in Hale's office, we wanted to build out a 3D photoreal view of the City of Arts and Sciences.
Our approach was, while we're there shooting with the actual actors, the exteriors, we're going to gather up all of that visual information and create a soundstage in Los Angeles that allows us to take a wormhole back to Valencia whenever we want.
A whole new challenge was taking all of these incredible digital ideas and saying, well, what happens if we do it on film? That's where, for us, the magic happened.
A small army of technicians over at Epic and Unreal and Fuse helped shoot this on film. It's beautiful. The grain softens it and even makes it feel more real.
But then when we got to the AirPod sequence, we really wanted to have these real environments. We went up and shot helicopter plates and shot these full panos and 180 views. Mark and his team of special effects built this entire gimbaled system with our AirPod on top.
We were able to capture all the little shadings, all the little bits of interactive light on the actors' faces.
You see someone's body shift. And you see
시즌
that, and you
2가
feel
나왔나
all those
본데요?
different things are the things that you just
시즌
can't fake.
2는 제가 못
We
봤는데
really tried to take
이거
reality
보면은
as
또
much as possible
날
and make
찾고
it
봐야
feel
되는
like our world in a new way.
Filmmaking, in some ways, has its roots in magic. It's just so effortless. One of the things I'm proudest of this season is the technical accomplishment. It's this marriage of those shots. Some of them are almost completely CG, some of them are almost completely practical, but they all work together to give you the reality of this one moment of this woman who we have seen trapped, finally made it to the outside world.
기본적으로 이제 우리가 이걸 보면서 그 영상 합성에 대한 부분들도 고민을 많이 하셔야 될
For me,
거예요.
the dream is in the environments that you can't actually go to.
일단 뭐 기본적으로 컴퓨터 사양이 좀 좋아야겠죠. 그래픽
Make it as real as possible.
이 가격이 좀
So
다운돼야
you really
되는데
feel this magic trick.
지금 또 환율이 올라가지고 더 많이 올라갈 것 같아요. 이걸 또 봐야 되나요? 자, 지금 이제 보면은 이게 그 실제로 이제 어마어마한 돈이 들어가는 거죠. 어마어마한 돈이 들어가고 아까 보시면은 뭐 그 헬리콥터 같은, 헬리콥터가 아니라 이제 이동 뭐 드론이든 거기 안에 주변에 있는 그 대형 LED를 보여지는 시각에 다 실제로 촬영을 해서 넣은 다음에 그걸 갖고 같이 촬영이 되고 굉장히 디테일하게 나올 수 있는 거죠. 지금 보면 여기서 이제 캡처된 거를 파이널 4K 아웃풋으로 뺀다는데 4K로 밖에 안 빼나요? 네. 자, 딴 게 또 있으면 딴 걸 보도록 하겠습니다. 좀 뭐 유명한 여기에 영화도 있는데요. 일단은 딴 거부터 좀 볼게요. 기록적인 속도의 아이디어까지 나타낸다라고 하는 건데 한번 보도록 하겠습니다.
With the use of real-time technology, it's kind of redefined my career as a filmmaker. So my first feature film is The Beyond. That ended up being one of the highest rated video-on-demand feature films of 2018. That easily segued me into directing my second feature film, 2036 Origin Unknown, with Kaylee Sackhoff. I started getting into the world of Unreal Engine pretty much out of necessity. I spent a lot of time last year doing all of the prep for my third feature film, Luna, and I didn't want to do storyboard. I knew most of the storyboards get thrown out. So I downloaded Unreal Engine and started doing
맥인데
figuring out
언리얼
where characters are going to
에디터를
be, trying to
쓰네요.
find the tone of the film. That quickly segued into
맥 버전도
pitch
있나
viz
본데,
when I
이게.
started to realize that I was getting a lot of real-time graphics for free. Pitch viz pretty much cut out a lot of process of concept art. It was such high quality that, you know, with a bit more love and a bit more time, you could essentially start making animated content.
As is a pioneer in that area, and the whole point of the Unreal Engine is to democratize 3D creation. Make
이거
it
보고
simpler,
이거 강의
quicker
끝나고
and easier
한번
to do
맥용이
what
지금
would have felt like very
현재로서는
complex things.
제가 지금 이게 지금 화면 보니까
Battlesix
맥이
is an
사용되니까
animated proof of concept pilot.
좀
An
다운받아서
animated
해보고
series which
싶은데요.
is currently in development. We use Unreal Engine to create the entire animation. So we ended up with a team of 3 people physically making the film, and this was done completely from start to finish within 4 months. So not only do we have the look, the tone, we also know how much it's going to cost. Usually when you're doing animation like this, you had to go through at least 20 various stages. We've done all of that in the pilot. It's liberating that as a filmmaker, I can keep experimenting and trying ideas out without breaking the budget, without breaking the schedule. We're not just building set pieces. We start off by building the world. When I get the Unreal Engine world, it opens up so many possibilities. So now the idea of looking through a forest, I can whip the camera and look over here. I can put another shot here for extra coverage. I'm on a virtual set where I don't have any limitations. Traditionally, you would have to try ideas out using the resources or an allocated pre-production time. Now, essentially, I'm in the sandbox and I can do whatever I want in that sandbox. In the middle of the night, if I have an idea, I can just quickly get up, whip out the laptop and block it out and see if it works or not. And I can do all of that in real time, not needing to have a conversation with a gaffer or a cinematographer or a DP. I can do whatever I want because essentially I'm in control as a filmmaker. That's huge for me. Battlesuits has opened up a lot of doors for me into animation. One in particular is an animated feature film project called Mutant Year Zero. I noticed when playing the game that it was built in Unreal Engine. So the first thing I did was reach out to the game developers to send me over some key assets, which I then put together a quick pitch using Unreal Engine to basically depict my vision of the film.
The great thing about Unreal, you sort of universalize things. You become quite agnostic and the boundaries break down very quickly. And you're seeing directors pre-vising and pitch vising, and actually it just edges closer and closer to the final thing, and soon enough it is going to be the final thing.
You know, I've had so much joy using Unreal Engine in terms of like realizing my vision, realizing the ideas I've had, and ultimately making me a better filmmaker than I was a year ago. And I'm really excited the fact that this technology is now accessible to literally anyone who has the drive to want to make content. That's what excites me.
저거는
The new type of
맥인,
content that's
저긴
gonna come out,
PC인데요.
fresh ideas.
맥용이 잠깐만요. 맥용이 이게 지금 언리얼 엔진 제품, 언리얼 엔진 5 제품, 커뮤니티, 지원, 마켓플레이스. 마켓플레이스는 뭐 만들어진 거를 사는 거고, 지원 정보가 엔진 로드북, 뭐 네이버 카페도 있네요. 엔진 다운로드 한번 볼게요. 다운로드가 다운로드, 예. 다운로드? 한번 해봤어요. 맥에서도 되네요. 맥에서도 돼요. 1.5 이상 램. 리눅스도 다 되고요. 예. 비용이 얼마인가요? 액세스 할 수 있고, 런치하고 엔진의 실행 및 설정. 이거는 나중에 좀 봐야 될 것 같습니다. 제가 좀 다운받아서 한번 할 수 있을까요? 일단은 좀 계속 보니까, 되게 막 하고 싶은 생각이 막 드는 거예요. 예. 물론 이제 얼마나 할 수 있을지는 모르겠으나, 장담할 수는 없으나, 자꾸 해보고 싶은 욕망이 생기네요. 요거 하나 잠깐 보고.
My name's Dan May. I'm the co-founder of a company called Painting Practice. We're a digital design company helping bridge the gap between traditional art department and
지금 이거는
visual effects. And really
보니까
kind of, I suppose,
스튜디오에
expanded
대한
and
설명
grown
같아요.
in the last
위에
5
보니까
years
프리비즈,
with
애니메이션,
production materials.
VFX, 프로덕션
Unreal Engine
디자인,
came in
컨셉
early in
아트,
pre-production,
뭐
and we
디지털
dabbled a little bit
매트
in
페인팅
real-time rendering.
서비스를
a couple
하고
of shows.
있다라고
For
되어
that, we
있어요.
built the San Junipero nightclub in the game engine to sort of show Charlie Brooker how to like navigate around. So I was familiar with the technology, and then we started doing previs and set design using the engine, primarily for the major set of Trollesund and also the Bear Palace stuff. Unreal was a great way of getting people to physically be in a space that was not even conceived. We'd done a concept model, and we basically scanned the quarry with photogrammetry with drones, built a high-res model, dropped in all the concept models, started applying Unreal textures on them, and then we were able to show the director, producers, like, this is what our town could be.
The scale of this show gave us an opportunity to push the exploration a little bit. And so yes, with Trollesund we got to explore it for real, and we got to really make some key decisions on the scale of the buildings and the scale of the set, because these are very expensive sets. And on a show like His Dark Materials, where you're building an entire town for one episode, you've got to make really good decisions that are practical and financial and creative, and they're all combined. And that tool and what Painting Practice's team created gave us an ability to make critical judgments that meant that we could get it right on the edge of affordable and absolutely on the edge of shootable, in the sense of there was no fat on what we
되게
built.
계층을 되게 복잡하게 짜놨네. 엉켰네.
You know, something that physically doesn't exist. We didn't even have the set at that point. One of the things I found the most useful was giving me a virtual camera to be able to get in that scene and shoot the shots that I wanted and walk around and look at the bear fight and see, you know, because I wanted that fight to feel like it was a real fight being shot, not a CG fight. I could actually do that with Unreal. I could move around that room physically, get the camera in the position I wanted to, and see on screen on my camera monitor what was going on and record those shots and cut it together. And that was really freeing for a director. It almost reminded me when I used to make like short films and stuff like that, and I was learning to make films. I used to go out with a camera and just go out and film stuff and try things out. You just want to be creative with a bunch of people and just like find the essence of what the story's about. And I didn't really think that previs would help me do that side of things. I thought it might help me with technically where to put a camera and stuff like that, but it didn't. It actually made me go, right, I don't need to worry about any of the noise. I can actually just go and create something.
I'm now really excited by the next 10 years because of this Unreal thing, in terms of it will just almost be start to finish. Maybe all production will end up like that.
네, 그 다음 거, 뭐 어차피 지금 이제 그 관련된 거고, 지금은, 예, 다음 거 한번 봐야 될 것 같아요. 지금, 여기서 솔루션에서 비주얼 프로덕션. 부분에서 지금 요거 요거는 우리가 이제 영화 저기 그 디즈니에서 지금 상영을 하고 있죠. 요거 보려고 디즈니도 가입을 저는
Part of what's
했었는데
been fun about collaborating on The Mandalorian with Lucasfilm and Disney is that we have been able to see through a few technical innovations and a few firsts that I think are going to have a lot of impact on the way television and movies are made moving forward. In partnership with ILM and Epic, we have put together a system whereby which we can have game engine, real-time render, and video wall technology coming together to create a backdrop for the big, beautiful world of Star Wars.
The volume is 21 feet tall, it's 75 feet in diameter,
세트장
run by 7 machines,
확실히 크죠.
keeping the visuals onto the screen that's been created in pre-production and can be on the screen within 24 hours of being final.
It's incredibly impressive when you first walk out there because it completely surrounds your peripheral vision. And you really quickly forget that you're indoors and you're not out on some planet's surface. It feels like a real three-dimensional environment surrounding you because it is a three-dimensional environment.
You can allow your key creatives to all make decisions together so that the shots are captured entirely in camera, which allows for a better performance.
And what was so exciting about this is by bringing those people together, things started to click. And we started to realize, well, let's not just do green screen and interactive light. If we're going to design the whole set in game engine ahead of time, maybe we could have some in-camera effects.
Everything in the volume is designed to both light the actors and to be a background that we can directly photograph. So you end up with real-time final pixels in camera.
If you look at visual effects heavy films, you've got a
그러니까 지금 밑에 하단에 보면 리얼타임으로 촬영이 되면서 같이 합성이 돼서 나오는 거죠.
At the same time, and how do we create a background and foreground that live together on the volume harmoniously?
When we started to play with the idea of using Unreal
뭐
Engine.
나중에 그 지금 1학년 거에 지금 애니메이션 FX에 보면은 그 에펙 관련돼서 작업이 계속 진행되고 있는데 거기 보면은 그 영상을 그냥 깔끔하게 그 이제 배경을 뺀 움직이는 장면만 빼내는 게 있어요. 그러니까 그린스크린이나 블루스크린 아니어도 그 기능들을 이제 곧 사용을 할 텐데 굉장히 그 지금 이제 그게 2.0 버전이 나와 있는데 굉장히 디테일하게 잘 나와진 거로 제가 알고 있어요. 그래서 나중에 한번 좀 작업을 지금 촬영을 해가지고 한번 해볼까 생각 중입니다.
Any sequence where you say, oh, this world's not quite right, let's just move it a little bit. An extraordinary number of benefits and advantages for shooting in that environment. It's mind-blowing what that tool is.
What you see is really what you get. And that's something that really means a lot to filmmakers, especially those who have worked with a more traditional approach in the past.
이제 소프트웨어나 프로그램들이 굉장히 업그레이드가 돼서 진짜 그 결론적으로 계속 장비만 얘기를 하는데 소프트웨어는 계속 업그레이드되고 장비만 따라주면 금방금방 나올 수 있는 것들이죠. 근데 이제 이거는 이제 그 언리얼 엔진으로 해서 아마 조금 이제 그 제 노트북으로 해도 약간 버벅거릴 텐데 영상 가져온 거를 다시 인풋해야 되고 그다음에 그 안에서 변환해야 되는 부분들이 좀 있겠죠. 물론 이제 필름 사이즈가 크니까 아마 제가 테스트를 하더라도 아마 그냥 조그만 클립을 가지고 테스트를 할 수밖에 없는. 일단은 저 같은 경우는 그냥 꼼꼼하게 뭐 보는 개념이 아니라 맨 처음에는 그냥 마구 이것도 눌러보고 저것도 한번 눌러보는 개념이죠. 그리고 다시 이제 그 매뉴얼을 보는 그런 개념으로 저는 늘 좀 해왔는데 글쎄요, 이것도 한번 해보고 테스트용으로 한번 해보고 싶어요. 뭐 그러니까 이런 퀄리티를 나타내겠다는 게 아니라 뭐 간단한 저퀄리티라도 방법 부분에서 어떤 변화가 사용을 하는지 그다음에 그 이펙트 부분에 어떻게 효과를 줄 건지 그런 것들 에셋을 이용한 그런 부분까지도 한번 생각해 볼 예정입니다. 지금 이제 여기 이미지 자체도 굉장히 그 디테일하게 나와져 있는 것 같아요. 것들이 또 영화나 그런 것들이 있는 게 지금 여기 보면 이거 같은 것도 재밌겠네요.
The third floor is the world's leading visualization studio, working behind the scenes with directors and designers to help them design films, television series, video games, and other forms of location-based entertainment.
We support filmmakers through every step of the process through pre-viz, tech-viz, post-viz, which is after we've shot the plates, and virtual production, which is throughout the entire process.
Game of Thrones began as a small support effort to do previs on select scenes that were going to be extra complicated in the earlier seasons.
On the show, we had so many vendors. We had multiple VFX vendors, we had multiple units shooting. There were so many people that needed to come together and do little parts of the show or this exact shot that we found that through previs we could inform them, and we used that as a blueprint that they would need to do their job and to be confident that it's exactly what the production wanted.
Season over season, there was higher and higher expectations, but it really started crescendoing around the time of Battle of the Bastards.
The scope of that scene was something that you would see in a Hollywood production. So how could we keep improving on the formula? We needed new tools and new approaches.
So going into season 8, we created a new tool set in the Unreal Engine to allow the filmmakers to explore those scenes and environments and stage the scene themselves.
We knew that we're going to be building all these big, beautiful sets, but they wouldn't be ready in time. So we deployed 2 people to Belfast really early on, just with the art department, building these virtual sets in Unreal. Once we did a little bit of it, everybody got hooked. Just every single major set piece that was not going to be ready went through Unreal and got scouted. In visualization, you always have to pull off these massive fight sequences or stadiums, and with Unreal, we find that it's incredibly easy to do them, and you don't have a performance hit. You just populate these vast worlds, again, at the click of a button. This experience that we had on Thrones gave us the confidence to adopt Unreal fully across the company.
For me, this is about turning directors loose on a new tool set. They can create whatever they can imagine. And then that creation isn't thought of as just the pre-production. It really is the foundation that gets upgraded and has a real effect on set, and then that data becomes the final image.
The collaboration aspect of it, that early ideation that happens in pre-production, that you don't really get that much of in post. With such a small, intimate team, it's something special. It's special to be part of.
이거를 언리얼 엔진으로 다 만들어가지고 구현을 했고, 근데 아까 이제 장면 중에서 세팅하는 장면들이 있었어요. 세팅하는 장면들도 실제로 이제 가상 공간에서 만들어진 것처럼 보이는데 그거는 좀 더 봐야 될 것 같고요. 이거 좀 식상한데. 이거는 좀 넘어가고요. 좀 게임 같기도 하고요. 예, 어쨌든. 네. 매트리스인가요?
I came on John Wick as a concept illustrator. I was providing 2D concept art to design the look and the feel of the film. And when we read about a 3-story building entirely made of glass, a number of problems come to mind. You have the reflections, you have the actual structural design of something like this, then you have the look to figure out lighting, etc. So I basically started with concept art using CAD designs from a set designer. I was able to bring them into Unreal Engine so that we could explore it in VR. It became this tool that allowed us to visualize what this set looked like, and also helped us to create the lighting and the design of this thing months and months before any decisions had to be made on the physical set. It was such an abstract set that having this kind of spatial relationship and visualizing it from that point of view had tons of value. This set became a hub in the art department. The actors, the directors, the cinematographers, went into the VR model so that they could basically visualize everything that was going to be built and seen in the film. I can't imagine them doing this set without VR. This set went through a number of different budgetary designs. I was able to create different set designs within VR, and now suddenly they can see what they can live with and what they can't live with at the hit of a button, and that allowed us to get the set approved sooner than we normally would. When you first walk onto the physical set, it's a surreal experience. It was amazingly accurate. VR has this
그러니까
kind of
결국은
ability
실제로
to
세트장을 만들기
cross the
전에
2D concept art threshold and set design threshold.
디자인 부분을 시뮬레이션을 해가지고 그 예산이나 이런 것들을 드리고 한다는 건데 그 영화 화면상에서는 좀 더 봐야 될 것 같은데요.
The guys at Epic have done an incredible job at making it an easily learnable program, and just being able to quickly and efficiently make something look good in such a minimal amount of time is incredible. So I feel like VR has a permanent place in design, film design, production design. But I also believe that the future is really bright for real time. Every single VFX artist that I know is asking about Unreal Engine, and the reason why is because there's the satisfaction of not hitting that render button, but just seeing it in real time. It's like heaven for a VFX artist.
딴 것도 한번 보겠습니다. 사실 영화 쪽 하니까 조금 이해가 쉽죠, 그죠? 여러분들도 이제 영화 쪽이나 이런 거 보니까.
Halem Entertainment at its core is a visualization company. Anything that we can do in a real-time game engine is on our list of things to do. Video games, films, location-based entertainment, you name it. If we can put pixels up on screen to help them realize their vision, that's what we're all about. When we started adapting Unreal Engine, we took an approach where we had to hire specialists.
As our projects have gotten bigger, as our teams have gotten bigger, we really had to embrace this idea that Unreal sat at the center of our pipeline and everyone would be using it.
All of our artists have become Unreal Engine generalists, and this allows us to take on a much broader range of projects.
My name is Lilith, and I need you.
Recently we did the announce trailer for Borderlands 3, which was a pretty exciting project.
The way we've approached game trailers is to do all of them using real-time technology because we want to compress that time frame. Myself as a director, I want to see that stuff on screen now happening the way I want it. And in something like Borderlands 3, we're able to turn around extremely complicated setups and shots. I'm putting all these ideas into a single cohesive thing that I can actually stand in the middle of and see play back and make decisions about. Now using Unreal Engine, our pitch visualization has become much, much stronger. And so when we start looking at projects like Ad Astra, we're able to pump out materials that help sell the big concepts so that creators and filmmakers can get their lofty ideas off the ground more effectively.
A lot of the processes that we used to do in Maya are now all being converted to Unreal. The lighting is now done in Unreal, the effects, the rendering, now we can even do ray tracing in Unreal.
A lot of times in the visualization business, we'll get 911 calls. Aquaman's third act was a process by which we had very little time to come up with a new vision for the third act of the film.
The traditional tools just weren't going to work. Throughout the whole sequence, there are thousands of different ships, hundreds of thousands of different aquatic sea life. They're distorting the water, and there's motion blur on top of the different levels of murk in the water, light rays, and all of this is being computed in real time. The work we were doing was going straight into editorial, into the cut, and so the quality really matters. We have to have a high bar so that it doesn't take people out of the movie.
In order to put that spectacle together efficiently, we needed the power that Unreal provided.
There was a huge impact on our business as a result of adopting Unreal Engine.
And the overall impact of that has been the growth from a company that was roughly 30 or 40 people for a good 10 years to a company that now is over 100 people. A rising tide lifts all boats, and that tide for us has been Unreal Engine.
언리얼 엔진을 업그레이드를 하고 싶네요. 네, 이번 영상은 여기까지 하도록 하겠습니다.